The military field hospital shook with distant explosions as rain hammered against the metal roof. Inside, chaos ruled every corner. Stretchers rolled through narrow aisles, medics shouted for supplies, and wounded soldiers filled every bed. Captain Daniel Cross sat upright on a blood-stained cot, refusing treatment despite the deep wound carved into his arm and the burns running across his shoulder. His face was bruised, his uniform torn apart from combat, but his eyes still carried the hard steel of a battlefield commander. "Captain, you need surgery now," one doctor barked impatiently while preparing an injection. Daniel jerked his arm away. "Not until Lieutenant Harper gets here." The doctor frowned. "Lieutenant Harper is only a nurse." "She's more than that," Daniel growled. Across the tent, Emily Harper rushed between patients with trembling hands hidden beneath medical gloves. She had spent 16 straight hours treating the wounded without rest. Despite her exhaustion, she stayed calm while senior doctors ignored her suggestions and dismissed her experience. Many of them saw her as too young, too soft, too inexperienced for trauma medicine in a war zone. Suddenly a medic called out, "Captain Cross is crashing." Doctors crowded around Daniel's bed. One prepared anesthesia while another ordered restraints because the captain refused to cooperate. Daniel fought them with surprising strength despite his injuries. "Get your hands off me," he roared. Emily heard the commotion and hurried over. The moment Daniel saw her, his expression changed. Relief replaced rage. "There you are," he whispered through clenched teeth. One senior surgeon stepped in front of her. "Lieutenant, stay back. We've got this handled." Emily hesitated, but Daniel slammed his fist against the rail of the bed. "No," he shouted. "She gives the orders." The entire tent went silent. Doctors exchanged stunned glances. Some looked offended, others confused. The chief surgeon folded his arms. "Captain, with respect, she is not qualified to lead this operation." Daniel stared directly into the surgeon's eyes. 3 weeks ago my unit was trapped after an ambush. We had no doctor. Harper kept 6 men alive with nothing but a flashlight and a torn medical pack while bullets came through the walls. If I'm breathing right now, it's because of her. Emily felt every eye turn toward her. The surgeon scoffed lightly. "Combat stories don't replace medical authority." "No," Daniel replied coldly. "But trust does." The monitors beside him suddenly screamed with alarms. Blood pressure dropping. Heart rate unstable. Emily stepped forward instantly. Her fear disappeared beneath sharp focus. "He's losing blood internally. Prepare transfusion now. Raise his left side. Somebody get me a portable ultrasound." The doctors hesitated for one dangerous second before the chief surgeon finally nodded. "Do it." The room exploded into motion. Emily worked quickly, checking Daniel's wounds while issuing commands with calm precision. Her voice cut through panic like a blade. She identified a hidden fragment lodged near his ribs that others had overlooked. Without removing it carefully, Daniel would have bled to death during surgery. The chief surgeon stared at the scan in disbelief. "How did we miss that?" Emily didn't answer. She was too focused trying to save the captain's life. Daniel grabbed her wrist weakly. "Told them," he muttered with a faint grin. "You're the best one here." For the first time, nobody argued with him. Outside, thunder rolled across the dark battlefield while inside the operating tent, Emily Harper stood at the center of the storm, carrying the weight of a man's life in her hands while the people who once dismissed her now waited for her next command. The surgery lasted nearly 4 hours. Inside the operating tent, sweat rolled down foreheads while machines beeped relentlessly in the background. Blood covered the floor beneath Captain Daniel Cross's table. The hidden shrapnel near his ribs had torn deeper than anyone expected, and every minute became a battle against death itself. Emily Harper stood beside the surgeons, her gloves soaked red as she monitored every movement. Though she was officially only a lieutenant nurse, the entire room now looked to her whenever complications appeared. The same doctors who had dismissed her hours earlier were now following her instructions without hesitation. "Clamp there," Emily ordered sharply. The surgeon obeyed instantly. Pressure dropping again, another medic warned. Emily leaned closer to the monitor. "Increase fluids." "No, faster than that. He's compensating before cardiac collapse." The chief surgeon glanced at her with growing respect. "How are you catching this so quickly?" Emily kept her eyes on Daniel. "Because soldiers don't die the same way civilians do. They fight longer than their bodies should allow." Her words hung heavily in the air. Suddenly the heart monitor screamed a flat warning tone. "No pulse." Everything froze for half a second before chaos erupted. "Start compressions." Doctors rushed forward, but Emily pushed through them. "Move." The force in her voice stunned everyone silent. She climbed beside the table and pressed both hands against Daniel's chest, performing compressions with desperate precision. Her arms trembled from exhaustion, but she refused to stop. "Come on, Captain," she whispered. "You don't get to quit now." One of the younger doctors muttered nervously, "We're losing him." Emily looked up fiercely. "Not while I'm here." The room fell silent except for the crushing rhythm of her hands against Daniel's chest. Seconds stretched endlessly. Then suddenly. Beep. A single heartbeat returned. Then another. The monitor slowly rebuilt its rhythm. The entire operating tent exhaled in disbelief. "He's back," the medic whispered. Emily nearly collapsed from exhaustion, but she steadied herself against the table. The chief surgeon stared at her with open admiration now. "I misjudged you," he admitted quietly. Emily removed her bloody gloves. "Doesn't matter. Just save him." Hours later, rain still poured outside as Daniel finally regained consciousness in recovery. His face was pale, his body weak, but his eyes searched the room until they found Emily sitting alone nearby. "You stayed," he said softly. Emily gave a tired smile. "Somebody had to make sure you didn't start yelling at doctors again." Daniel laughed painfully before turning serious. "You know why I trusted you?" She shook her head. "Because everyone else sees rank," he said. "I see courage." Emily looked away, emotional exhaustion finally catching her. "I was terrified in there." "Fear doesn't make you weak," Daniel replied. "Walking through it anyway makes you dangerous." For a moment neither of them spoke. Around them, wounded soldiers rested quietly while medics moved through the dim lights of the field hospital. The storm outside had begun to fade. Then the chief surgeon entered slowly. "I just received a message from command," he announced. "Word of tonight reached headquarters." Emily frowned. "What word?" The surgeon smiled faintly. "That a nurse took control of a collapsing operating room and saved the most important captain in the region." Daniel smirked proudly from the bed. The surgeon continued, "Command wants Lieutenant Emily Harper transferred to Central Military Medical Leadership immediately." Emily stared in shock. "You earned this," the surgeon said sincerely. Daniel looked at her with the same confidence he carried on the battlefield. "Told you," he murmured. "She gives the orders." And this time, nobody in the room doubted it.